Well, Paulie, you come over for the big fight. You only seem to come over for the big fights. So, I mean, the manner in which Liam Smith won the first fight against Chris Eubank Jr., you wouldn't expect there to be an appetite, but for some reason, and a lot of people now going into this one, expect Eubank or give Eubank a great chance. I mean, what's your feelings on it? What's your feelings on the first fight, how it went? And
well, I think,
is it as conclusive as what people think?
I think people are curious, genuinely, because they were so shocked at the first fight, at the first result. I think, you know, it was a bit disrespectful to Smith because he's an ex-world champion who's accomplished a lot in the sport. Has accomplished more than Eubank. But of course, when you're fading a little bit, or people look at you as you're fading, there's an image in people's minds like, oh, he's ripe for the taking. And it seemed like it was the right moment for a guy like Eubank to take over from a guy like Smith on the world scene, on the British scene. And Smith obviously had other ideas, but that's why the rematch is so curious, because people are so emphatically excited about the rematch, because it was such a shock. People were wondering, oh, was it just a one-off, or is Smith really better than Eubank?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to find out.
I mean, listen, you know, a lot of people reading into the punch resistance of Chris Eubank as well, saying, you know, that he's been in with the likes of George Groves and the bigger guys, and he can take the shots, and he's never seemed to be hurt. But against Smith, there seemed to be a fragility around him. You know, he was getting hurt with jabs, he was getting hit. You know, is that a case of, you know, father time, punch resistance, catching up with Eubank? Could that play a factor in this fight as well?
I hate to think that, because he's not that old.
No, he's not, but he's had a hard career.
He has had a hard career, but it hasn't been a long career. I mean, he didn't have the long amateur career, you know what I mean? He started late, so I don't know, but I was just as shocked as everybody else. Now, you could consider a lot of other things, because you've also got to consider the fact that Liam Smith has been a good puncher, but never that kind of puncher, right? He was never the kind of puncher that was hurting guys that never got hurt before, you know? So you've got to think of other things. So this is why, although Smith may not like it, people have to talk about the fact that maybe Eubank was weight drained from making the Conor Benn weight, or maybe Eubank was hurt from the elbow that hit him in the exchange. You know, you have to consider all of these things, because one, Eubank has never been hurt for so emphatically like that, and two, Smith was never that kind of puncher. He was not a weak puncher, but he was never that kind of puncher. So you start to wonder about a lot of other things. It becomes part of the talking points going into a big fight. It may be for all for nothing, and they may not mean anything, don't get me wrong, but these are all things we're curious about going into the fight.
Do you know what? I had a conversation with Chris Eubank yesterday at the open workout, and I said to him, Chris, you know, how are you feeling going into this fight? And he says to me, Spence, it's the first time in my career where I felt like I've been backed into a corner, where I feel like my back's against the wall, where I feel the pressure. Do you think that will work in his advantage or against him? Because I think that he was complacent last time, maybe overconfident last time, working with Roy Jones. He tried to adopt that style, which was not his style. You know, he was switching off inside, and someone like Liam Smith, who adapts a brilliant style of hands high, and he attacks on the attack, and he makes his opponents pay, and that's where the fight was won and lost the first time. Will he have learned from them mistakes? And do you feel the pressure of what he's going into now working his advantage?
Well, I think he's got no choice but to have learned. If he's going to have a chance to be successful on Saturday night, he's going to have learned from that experience and have a mental approach that is different from that fight. But second of all, I mean, I think for sure he's learned some things. I mean, feeling your back to the wall is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing.
It can make you lose sleep at night, don't get me wrong. But you know, when you talk about being complacent, you definitely won't be complacent when your back is to the wall. If you feel that heat, that pressure, I always felt like as a fighter, you had to feel a little bit of the heat, a little bit of the pressure in the dressing room before you came out to the arena, because it kept you alert. Yes, it's an uncomfortable feeling, but it keeps you alert. And I think as you gain a lot of experience sometimes later in my career, I stopped feeling that. And it was like I fought more lackadaisical, you know? So I think as long as you have that feeling that he's talking about, I think that's a good thing.
The pressure brings the best out in a fighter.
Because it can make you lose sleep at night, it can get you lost in your own thoughts, but at the same time, it makes you razor sharp mentally. I mean, you are on it mentally, and that is necessary if Eubank is going to be successful on Saturday night.
Paulie, I just want to jump onto another subject now. Like, I want to speak about drugs within the sport. Now, look, we had a conversation on my podcast 4 or 5 years ago where you was telling me about, you know, the worry of how much drugs was in the sport and it wasn't being highlighted, etc., etc. Recent times we've had Conor Benn failing testing it, and more recently, Alicia Baumgardner. I want to get your thoughts on that, and Dillian White as well. I want to get your thoughts on it, Paul, and your stance on it, because I know, like myself, you're strong on drugs within the sport, and you know, we're against it. I want to get your thoughts on
Spencer, I think we're going to be having this conversation. We had it 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're having it today. We're going to be having it in 5 years.
What
we're
should
going to
the
be having it in
punishment
10
be?
years.
What should the punishment be?
Should be the same for everyone. If you cannot give the same punishment for a superstar that you can for an average fighter, then there shouldn't be any punishment anymore. I'm sick and tired of talking about this. Like, because then what they'll do is they'll give, what was his name? The African fighter that just had the...
Teti.
Teti. They'll give Teti a 4-year ban because he doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
He's a world-class fighter, but nobody knows him. So you'll make an example out of him, give him a 4-year ban. But Canelo will fail one because he's too much of a superstar. You give him a 6-month ban. What's a 6-month ban? That's what he takes off anyway between fights. So until the punishment is the same for all of these guys, it really there's no conversation to have.
No,
there's nothing we can do.
No, but I'm saying
I mean, I care, but I'm not fighting anymore. And there's nothing we can do about it until the punishment is unilateral. Until there's a strict rule set for everyone, and until the people are paying for the drug testing consistently, bro, there's enough money in the sport. You got guys making $100 million at times. There's enough money to take aside and put year-round drug testing for the world-class fighters in the sport. The sanctioning bodies have the money. So don't get me wrong. I'd love for it to be solved, but since I'm not in charge of it being solved, I'm not going to keep complaining about it every year, because every year it's something to complain about. I'm sick of complaining about it. What am I going to do? That's it. I don't fight anymore. That's it.
Listen, Derek Chisora said minimum 10-year ban, performance-enhancing drugs in the system.
Yeah, no, but minimum 10-year ban? Okay. Did Chisora ever fail by you?
No, he doesn't.
No. But 10-year ban, yeah? Okay. If a Canelo fails, if an Anthony Joshua fails, if a mega star in boxing fails, you're gonna keep that you're gonna keep that energy? Are you gonna keep that energy? Hey, I'm okay with a 10-year ban if you fail. I'm fine with that. I think that would put everyone off of fighting. But you know they're not going to enforce that if a superstar fails.
So Conor
Benn may have been innocent, but how is it? When all the money's behind you, all of a sudden, you know what? He was innocent. He was innocent. Conor Benn started punching harder than anybody you see in boxing a couple of years ago. Before that, he was not punching like that, all right, dude? So whether you want to tell me or not, okay, my opinion is there's a problem there, all right, bro? I saw the knockout he had of Chris Eubank Jr., who was a durable guy. He hit him like this. And the guy went knocked down cold, sleep. Okay, that guy wasn't punching like that before. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you. I'm gonna break it to you. He wasn't punching like that. Okay, now does that mean that my opinion on that makes him dirty for sure? No, but then he failed the test.
Everyone's entitled to an opinion.
You pay all the money, and all of a sudden you're clean. All of a sudden, this guy ate too many eggs. This guy had too much steak. This one, whatever else. Okay, bro, I'm tired of it. That's it. You know what? I'm tired of it. You guys handle it. I'm good. I'm tired of it. But you know what? If you don't handle it, I don't want to talk about it anymore because there's nothing we are gonna get done by complaining about it. Nobody cares. You guys don't care. And you know what? I'm not fighting anymore. So you know why am I gonna care?
Listen, I'm glad I got your thoughts on it, bro.
Yeah.
Let's get to the press conference.
You got me too excited on this stuff. I don't want to talk about it, and then I end up talking about it. This is unbelievable.
Liam Smith, Eubank Jr. See what goes on.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Paulie. God bless.